Hi, it's Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. This is the first night of daylight saving, so it's a little later, but it's early, and you've had all day. I want you to be aware of what we're doing over here. There's an email that you can get if you'd like to keep up with what we're doing. This is what it looks like. It comes out once a week. I don't sell your email addresses. We don't do anything extra unless it's an absolute emergency. But on Saturdays, I will send out an email, and it will highlight the issues that we're going to be talking about on Sunday evening. Send me your email address. Just send me an email at the Bible Forum. It's thebibleforum@gmail.com, and you can get in on the discussion. I want you to be aware of our Bible Institute to learn. Well, how's it go? Bible Institute of Charleston.org. You go to that website and you can see what that's all about. Watch a little sample, an introductory video, and sign up. It's a great course. We've got some folks that are studying. Everyone who has communicated with me has said it has been well worth their time and the effort, and so we want you to be a part of it. There's been a lot of things going on this week. I wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit on the current events, what's been happening. The United Nations Rights Office says oh, I've missed something here someplace. It's talking about Sudan. That's what. I couldn't figure out what I had written. This is one of the most horrendous human rights situations in the world. South Sudan, which is Muslim, is allowing their fighters to rape women as payment. They can't pay them everything they'd like to pay them or what they would like to have. But the UN Rights Office said on Friday, in describing this country, that is one of the most horrendous human rights situations in the world. Most of the young people are being treated not as good as cattle, not as good as property. They're just running roughshod through this company. They're finding people hanging from trees, cut into pieces, being burned alive, all sorts of kinds of things. This is the organization, this is the religious system, and you can say that there are more Muslims that are not like this than there are like this, but it doesn't say much about a religious system that actually allows this sort of thing. It's an extreme view of the religion, but it is in their system. They're allowed to do that. Germany has put up a new website. The country has put out a new website, the Federal Center for Health Education. And the website is targeting migrants. That's what they call them. These are the folks who are escaping from Syria, from Iraq, places like that, because the West will not go in and do anything to fix the situation. These people are escaping with their lives. And so this website is targeting that group. This website has drawings that depict every sort of sexual act known to mankind. It gives life lessons in sex, including different positions, including prostitution, how to engage in casual sex. It is doing all of this to try to mollify, to tone down the pure chaos that is going on in Germany with these Muslim immigrants who are walking hundreds, thousands of miles to escape their country and have no idea how to live in a decent society. Dark-skinned men having sex with white women, blonde hair, referred to as an illustration of Germany's welcoming culture. toward migrants. It's available in 13 different languages. It is just absolutely horrendous. Sweden is facing the same kinds of things, only they're responding to it a little bit differently. In Sweden, this is a place where you pretty much leave your doors unlocked and you walk around the streets at night and you don't worry about things. But now the times have changed. Now in northern Sweden, police are telling residents, especially women, not to walk alone at night. One publication reports everything has changed since the arrival of refugees at asylum centers. These people are popping up, it says, like mushrooms all over the Swedish landscape, even in the most rural areas. And since mid-February, 6 violent crimes, including rape and attempted rape, have been committed by men of foreign appearance against women out alone at night. Sweden has a population of 10 million people. It welcomed 163,000 migrants and refugees last year, more than any other European nation on a per capita basis. And the police say they've never seen anything like it. In one small town, population 45,000, there have been a multitude of assaults just in the past few months that usually involve drunken men fighting with each other. But now it is these migrants, these refugees, who are attacking women. And the women are being told, don't leave home. You did hear this week that Iran launched 2 more ICBMs. They're testing their systems so that they can mount bombs. We believe, the government believes, that these will be atomic, nuclear in nature. One of them had, words to Israel written on it in Jewish, in the Jewish language. But here's the other side of that story. Because you hear about these things going on, and you just know that nations, Western nations, are rising up and they're pointing the finger, they're making the phone calls, they're sending the emails, they're trying to communicate with Iran to discuss their displeasure. And you would hope the UN would do that. You would hope that our own Secretary of State, John Kerry, would do that. Well, the Iranian media, just this past Thursday, publicly denied published reports that our U.S. Secretary of State, John Kerry, had actually protested these missile tests to his counterpart, the foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif. It said, quote, John Kerry has sent emails to Zarif asking for a telephone call to discuss issues, including Iran's missile tests. But it did not happen because Zarif is on an official visit and he can't take the call. How's that? Journalist Kenneth Timmerman writes, if any further evidence was needed to show that the nuclear talks with Iran were a tragic farce, choreographed and orchestrated by Iran, the startling revelations from a former top aide to Iranian President Hassan Rouhani ought to do the trick. The U.S. negotiating team are mainly in Lausanne, Switzerland, to speak on Iran's behalf with other members of the 5+1 countries to convince them of a deal, he told the opposition television network in London when it was going on. Amir Hossein Mottagi was President Rouhani's image maker. During the 2013 presidential elections, he was the man in charge of making sure Rouhani got the nation's youth vote, which apparently he did. And thanks to him, they got an overwhelming majority of the youth vote, more than 30%, or 30 points. But essentially what Motagi said is that Secretary Kerry is working as an agent of Iran and has been arm-twisting reluctant allies such as the French into accepting what they know is a bad deal. Some Iranian Americans believe that Secretary Kerry should have recused himself from negotiations at the very outset because of his long-standing relationship with his counterpart, Mohammad Zarif. Kerry and Zarif apparently met over 10 years ago at a dinner party hosted by George Soros in Manhattan at Soros's penthouse. Just as an aside, in case inquiring minds want to know, John Kerry's daughter is married to the son of this man, to Kerry's counterpart in Iran. Just about the time you didn't think it could get any worse. She married this man before Kerry was appointed Secretary of State. No, our government does not seem to think this will compromise our bargaining position. That's how naive these people are. Or that's how stupid they think we are. Kenneth Timmerman's article on March 30th of last year said, "Is John Kerry representing America or Iran?" On the global market scene, Italy's banks are on the verge of collapse. So is just about every other nation's bank. What they're saying is that if Italy goes down, it'll take the EU with them. Italy is not Greece. Greece's economy is not all that big a deal. Italy's economy apparently is quite substantial, and the EU could not sustain them going bust. Here at home, we are over $19 trillion in debt, and most of that debt we owe to ourselves. Each citizen owes over $68,000, and the biggest outlays are in areas like Medicare and Social Security and things of that nature, where we are indebting ourselves to ourselves. There isn't anybody else that we can blame. These two groups, Social Security and Medicare, are living off borrowed money, and they're doing it as far as the eye can see, and we go deeper into debt every year, and we haven't even had a budget. You can have a budget, not have a budget. We're still going into debt. We wonder if the next budget round will be any different. We got a new Speaker of the House, and we got a lame duck president. But don't count on it. That's why this election is so important. We need to have a veto-proof Senate. It doesn't look like we're going to get there. The presidential race is down to 6 people, 4 Republicans, 2 Democrats. Noise is being made that Rubio could be bowing out after the Florida primaries. Kasich is dead in the water. Cruz is gaining momentum, but not nearly enough and not fast enough. The Donald appears to be lowering his shocking rhetoric and jabbing at everybody. Rubio apologized for his part in this, said his wife didn't like it, the kids were embarrassed. On the other side, Bernie's not going to make it, and Hillary's going to be facing charges. That's if there's any justice left in this country. Judge Napolitano over at Fox News explained that Mrs. Clinton kept classified documents on a private server in her home, a server that was not secured by the government. General Petraeus was charged with criminal conspiracy for sharing classified information with someone not holding the same security clearance as he, his girlfriend. His girlfriend did have a security clearance, just not as high as his. In Hillary's case, she kept classified secrets on a home server that was not secured by the government. Napolitano said there's no way Clinton did not have classified material on her home server, since she held the same security clearance as does the president. That would only be a misdemeanor charge, however. But Napolitano said the far more serious charge would be the conspiracy to conceal the documents from government computers. That carries a penalty of 3 years in jail for every document. She turned over 30,000. That isn't all of them. A conviction on that charge would disqualify her from holding public office ever again. So the question is, will she be charged? If the Attorney General has to do it, probably not. This is not an administration known for its high moral principle. Do you go to a physician very often? You go to your doctor, you get routine examinations, maybe an annual exam. You're on Medicare. They pay for a physical every year. Maybe you have diabetes. Maybe you just have a bad back. Maybe you just get sick every once in a while. You end up at the doctor. What is it you do? Well, we're being told now that just going through a routine physical exam or a routine examination of your sore toe, before you know what's happening, you could be dragged off kicking and screaming, proverbially, to the nearest mental asylum. What did you do? You didn't do anything. But a recent report by someone named Alex Newman of the newamerican.com website says that a panel advising Obama administration and in partnership with Big Psychiatry wants to make doctors subject all American adults and children over the age of 12 to screening, psychological screening for alleged mental health disorders, particularly depression, at least to start with. Question: how many people are not depressed according to the definition of depression on some level or another? If you were found to harbor any alleged mental disorder, there are about 500 of them, including children as young as 8, you would be forced to undergo therapy, often including powerful psychotropic medications that experts say have dubious value, but come with well-documented and highly dangerous side effects. Eventually, the hunt for alleged mental and behavioral abnormalities is expected to focus more sharply as younger and younger children, school teachers, social workers, and more are brought into the crosshairs of Big Brother. Consider that until 1973, homosexuality was considered a mental disorder by the American Psychiatric Association. Today, some mental health professionals think that those who believe in limited government, free market economics, traditional values suffer from mental disorders. This could result in almost anybody with an unpopular political belief or lifestyle could be labeled as mentally ill, which raises a question. Will Christians who oppose legalized homosexuality and the LGBT gamut in general be considered mentally ill or unfit? Can you say yes? And who is going to decide who is unfit and why? And what happens to any hope of fair and balanced assessments when many key decision makers are unapologetically anti-Christian in their beliefs and inclinations? Christians and other groups are already labeled intolerant if they hold to non-compromising beliefs and values, things that the entire population of the country once held, but now do not. And those of us who still hold to those traditional values are seen to be problems. At some point, we could have serious mental problems. So, what is a mental disorder anyway? Well, it's a malfunction of the mind. Well, what's the mind? Well, of course, we know it's the brain. Are you sure? Well, no. You see, it's assumed that people who are trained and deal with human behavior or psychological abnormality all agree, but they don't. There's a group that insists that you come to them for talk therapy, counseling. There's another group that insists you simply take medication to alter or to calm or to change your symptoms. There's a group that insists neither of these are always needed or are good. And everyone who's ever been involved with mental health issues knows one thing for sure: you never get shed of these people. It impacts your driver's license, your professional licenses. There are medical side effects, medication side effects. There are stigmas attached to certain diagnoses, job limitations, personal doubts, fears. if I just act out in a what might be considered an antisocial way, am I a risk to other people? Am I a risk to society at large? And the answer is a firm maybe. If I simply cannot relate to other people in productive ways, am I at risk? Where is it written that governments have an obligation to ferret out all these people and assign them to one diagnosis or another? My experiences with psychological testing administered by professionals is not very positive. In one case, I was not a victim. I submitted to a psychological test. It was in concert with a course I was taking in biblical counseling. The administrator, when it was done, said to the class, if you'd like to know your score, raise your hand, I'll tell you what it is. I raised my hand. He said, see me after class. He wouldn't tell anybody what it was. And so I made the appointment. I went to see him, and he was concerned about me, because what he said he saw on the chart in at least 2 different personality areas would probably exclude me from public ministry. That was 1977. I've had 30 years of ministry since then. And he wanted me to know that while these things are like that, they're not absolute. And it may be the way I viewed the questions, or it may be what I was going through that day, or it may be that the test just isn't accurate. The point is, you may have a personality issue that's antisocial. But does that automatically mean that you will act out in harmony with that antisocial personality trait? You could have a bad temper, but if you got saved and you got under control of the Holy Spirit, that would not be an issue. Well, maybe when you're tired or frustrated or stressed. But does anybody have a personality trait that's not unproductive? The illustration in the report is depression. Did you know depressive tendencies are not always a serious problem? David had depressive tendencies. We learned a lot about God and about ourselves through the Psalms. Did you know depressive personalities are some of our most honored artists and scientists, thinkers and deeply intuitive people? This is just Big Brother stepping in to help me cross the street, whether I want to cross the street or not. Kenneth Copeland's in the news this week talking about rebirthing America. We're going to come back to him a little bit later on. There's also a gathering of pastors. Thousands are expected to gather at Lincoln Memorial on April 9th, part of something called United Cry DC 16, massive prayer rally. Both of these are pointed towards saving America, bringing all these people together. This is another of Lou Engel's The Call ministry things. He just keeps calling these people to come and do this sort of thing. And he wants to put as many people together and have them pray, and you know, God will raise up something or somebody, and the next thing you know, America won't be as bad as it really is. What does the Bible say is the future? That America suddenly revives, gets strong, and takes over for the world? Or does it say everything is going downhill and it could be that we're not too far from the end? There's a balance in here somewhere, and I think these people are spending a lot of time and money doing things just to get attention. Have you seen the new movie that's out, Young Messiah? One so-called Christian reviewer says the movie's not controversial at all because it wasn't made to be controversial. It's not about that. And he proceeded to show a scene, and this scene demonstrates how non-controversial the movie is. And the scene has this 7-year-old Jesus doing some kind of a miracle. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it startles this Roman soldier. And the soldier and he have this conversation. And the 7-year-old Jesus knows that that Roman soldier was in Bethlehem at Jesus' birth, was part of the crew that went around killing all the children under the age of 2. And the soldier is just surprised and shocked. And my first reaction was, if that's true, and there's no indication that it is, and the book isn't even saying, the movie is, it's just drama. But my goodness, this is messing with something that's very, very serious, because we remember an adult Jesus, 30 years of age, at the marriage of Cana, when his mother asked him to do a miracle, and he kind of pushed back. My time is not yet come. There wasn't a time. It wasn't time for him to do miracles to demonstrate who he was. Now he did it, the Bible says, because it was his mama, and it was reluctant. It wasn't a very flashy thing. It was just that one little thing, and probably nobody knew he did it. I don't know. But Christian theology teaches us that Jesus had to be tested before he could begin his earthly ministry, which included miracles. But the film's not controversial. It's just heretical. There's also a group out there, Wycliffe Associates in Orlando, Florida, who are now not renewing their affiliation with another organization entitled Wycliffe Global Alliance. And they're debating how to interpret the Bible. They're translating the Bible into various languages, and in the Muslim world, they're not sure what to do. They have this disagreement, and it's a significant disagreement. How do you interpret the words that describe the Son of God when Allah has no children? And one organization is saying that they need to soft pedal this and bob and weave and get around it somehow and not mention that he is the Son of God. And the other one is saying you can't do that. It's not negotiable. So they have parted ways. Should Christians soften, change God's word that it might become more relevant to the culture? We've been doing that since the 1960s. You do know we've got 872,000 different Bible translations, right? Why do we have so many different translations? They have to be different enough to get a copyright of their own. So they have to vary significantly. But we're told that there's no difference. There are differences like crazy. But that's just my opinion. We got a lot more to talk about. We're just getting started. We're in the first half hour of the show. We've got an hour and a half more to go. You stay with us. We'll be right back.